This is a demonstration of CHIRP's bulk editing capabilities. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the June 29th, 2023 build. What I have here is a frequency plan in CSV format that represents something that I've been working on over the years, and I've been adding and removing things over time, and it's gotten a little bit messy. I've got some simplex channels, I've got some repeater channels, I've got some public safety, public service channels, and I know I've got some duplicates in here. What I want to do is rearrange this so that it's more organized. I want to get my ham simplex channels up here at the top. I want to group my repeater channels here in the middle, and I want to move my public service channels to their own region or grouping down here. I also want to sort all of these memories so that the VHF and the UHF channels are contiguous, so that if I want to upload this frequency plan into a single band radio, I won't end up with a whole bunch of holes where the channels are that won't fit into that radio. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to get these channels here, numbers 8 through 29, into a single block. These are mostly my repeaters. There are some other things in here, but the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all this space and group these together. So to do that, I'm going to select them all, first by clicking on row 8, which is the first one. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on the last one, which is row 29. Now I can right-click anywhere in here and choose Cluster 16 Memories. And if I click on that, you can see that it moved all of the used channels to the top of the block and moved all of the empty spaces down to the bottom. The next thing I want to do is remove or sort out some of these channels that are in here that are simplex channels, because I want this grouping to be my repeaters. So I'm going to click again on the first row, which is row 8, hold down the Shift key, and select the last row, which is now 23. Again, I'm going to right click anywhere here, and I'm going to say sort these 16 memories, ascending. And because I want to separate out the simplex and the repeater or duplex channels, I'm going to say sort by the duplex column, which is what this pop-up dialog is asking me. So if I select duplex and hit OK, you can see that these simplex channels bubbled to the top, and all of the duplex or repeater channels ended up at the bottom. Now the first thing I can do here is I see that of the 3 simplex channels, one of them is a ham simplex channel that I want to put up here with my other ham simplex channels. So I'm going to select that row by clicking on it with number 9 here. I'm going to cut this and paste it up here. Now I can either use the Control X on Windows key to do that with the keyboard. I can go to the Edit menu and choose Cut, or I can right click right here and say Cut. Now I'm going to click on the row where I want it to go. That's number 2 here. And I'm going to right click again and say Paste. So that's moved this channel up here where I want it to be. Next, I've got these 2 channels here. These are public service channels, and I want to get those off kind of in their own group of their own. So I'm going to select one and then hold down the Control key and select the other one. Again, I'm going to cut these and paste them somewhere else. Notice that they're separated by a space, but I have not selected the empty row. If I cut them like this, I'm going to use the Edit menu this time, Edit, Cut. I'm going to go down here and put them on row 30 by selecting row 30 and go Edit, Paste. And notice that even though I selected them in different places separated by multiple channel slots up here, when I paste them down here, CHIRP puts them in a single line. If I had selected an empty space in between these two, it would have kept that gap when you pasted it. Now the next thing I want to do is I've got my repeaters here. I want them to start at row 10. I like each of my groupings to start at an even number. So again, I'm going to select this whole group by clicking on the first row, which is now 11. Again, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and click on row 23, which is the last row. And the function that I'm going to use is available here in the Edit menu. It's going to be Move Up. But it's much more convenient to use the keyboard shortcut here, which is Control and the up arrow. So that's what I'm going to do. While these memories are selected, I'm going to hit Control up. And as you can see, it moved the entire block of memories up one row. Now this is where I want them to be, but I'm just going to show you that you can use this to move blocks of memories around pretty easily. The next thing that I want to do is within this group of repeaters, I want these to be sorted so that the VHF channels come first and the UHF channels come after that. And that's so that if I upload this frequency plan into a monoband radio, I don't end up with a bunch of gaps for the channels that won't fit, and instead I get some contiguous memories. So since these are already selected from the last operation, I can just right click and say sort. I'm going to sort these 13 memories again, ascending, but this time the dialog box, when it pops up and asks me what column I want to use to sort, I'm going to choose frequency. If I click OK, now all of the VHF channels are at the top and all of the UHF channels are at the bottom. Now, since I've got these set the way I want them, I want to insert a new VHF repeater channel and keep this ordering the way it is. So in order to do that, I can easily click on the row where I want to insert a new one, 15, row 15 in this case. I'm going to right click and say Insert Row Above. That gives me an empty space and it moves all of the channels that were necessary to create that space down. Notice that it stopped when it got to the next blank region and did not mess up my ordering here of my public service channels, which I wanted to start on 30. CHIRP will only move as many of these channels as is necessary to open the space. So now I'm just going to put in my other repeater here, and I'm good. Now, the other thing that I notice, now that I have my repeaters sorted by frequency, it's very easy to notice that I have some duplicates. This 147.28 is in there twice, as well as this 441.65. So the next thing I'm going to do is delete each of these, and I'm going to use the function in CHIRP that will delete that channel and not just leave an empty blank, but keep my group together. So I'm going to highlight that row of one of the ones I want to delete. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say delete, but instead of just delete this memory, which would leave a gap, I'm going to say delete this memory and shift block up. And if I do that, it deleted that memory and it shifted up all of these channels necessary to close the gap until the next blank region. So again, you see my channels here that I wanted to start at 30 are still in the same spot. So I'll do that again here for this other duplicated repeater. And while I'm here, I'll mention that if I were to choose delete this memory and shift all up, it would shift the entire frequency plan up to fill that gap all the way down to the end last channel and not just stop when it got to the next block. So I'm going to do delete this memory and shift block up again. And now I've removed my duplicates. The next thing I want to do, I've got these two public service channels here. I have these in my radio so that I can listen, but I never want my radio to accidentally transmit here. So I want to modify both of these to disable transmit. And the way you do that in CHIRP is to set the duplex to off if your radio supports that function. Instead of doing each one independently, I can select as many channels as I want and do it together. So I'm going to click on the first one here, row 30. Again, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select the last row, which is 31. And then I'm going to right-click and say Properties. This brings up a dialog box which shows me all of the attributes of both of the memories, although it's showing me the value that is currently in the first one. And it allows me to make a change. So I'm going to go here to the duplex field. I'm going to click here and I'm going to change duplex to off. That's how CHIRP indicates that a channel cannot transmit. You notice that duplex is now bold. That is how you know that only the changed duplex is going to be applied to the two memories that I selected. So now if I hit the OK button, you can see that both of these channels are now changed to off duplex. The last thing that I want to do is up here where my ham simplex channels are. I want the first channel to be club simplex, the next channel to be national simplex 146.52, and then after that is the APRS frequency, which I don't use very often. So the easiest way to do that is to click on this row, row 0, which is the APRS channel. I'm going to again use my move function, this time move down, and I'm just going to hold down the control key and hit the down arrow and move this APRS channel below club simplex and then again below national simplex so that it's in the spot that I want. And now I have my frequency plan all cleaned up. I've got my repeaters in the middle, all grouped together, sorted by frequency. I've got my duplicates removed. I've got my ham simplex channels moved up to the top of my frequency plan in the order in which I want them. And I've made a bulk edit to my public service channels to disable duplex and therefore disable transmit.